Welcome back, guys. We are here for another one of our Lord of the Rings Tales from Middle-earth limited set review. Yank's on the call with us as always. We're going to be rating all of the green cards 1 through 5 from a limited perspective. If you guys missed our other colors as well as our introduction, make sure you guys go back and check them out. The introduction has everything you need to know about this new set for limited. That includes new and returning mechanics, as well as draftable archetypes and signpost cards. Well, how you doing, Yanks?
Good. How about you?
Good. Are you excited for green?
Usually I'm not, but I am excited to see what the Hobbitses have for us in green.
I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of second breakfasts.
Lots and lots of food. Here we come.
All right. Bag End Porter. We have a 4 mana 4/4. When it attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. It's not going to be hard for this to be 1 because of the ring. Yeah. So I think the average swing is going to be 1, which makes me pretty okay with this. And in some decks, it's just going to be an absolute smashing.
Yeah, I think you're right that most of the time this is swinging as a 5/5 and at minimum.
Yeah.
In which case I'm very happy with this card.
Yeah. So rating wise, I think this is probably close to, I'm going to say this is a 3. Like, this is a one of the more powerful, like, consistent 4-drops that we're going to see, I think. Now, some decks won't be able to use this and it'll play much worse, but I think the average deck will be pretty good.
We haven't, obviously we're just starting green, but from the other colors, I think just sheer size is going to be a value in this set.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm with you on a 3 for this.
All right, let's keep it moving. Bombadil's Song. 2 mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains a hexproof until end of turn, and the ring tempts you. So you get 1 extra mana for a ring, and you get Snakeskin Veil. I'm in. This card seems great. I'm playing at least one of these. This is like a 3/5.
Yeah, I think I'm a little lower than you. I do think it's a good card. Snakeskin Veil was always great. I probably got it as a 3.
But you have to give it 0.5 because of the ring.
I did, from 2.5 to 3.
No. Snakeskin Veil is definitely, and I know this was 1 extra mana. But
exactly. Like, that's where you lose some.
No, but every single time I was like, okay, I win the game as long as they don't have Snakeskin Veil. And they always freaking have a Snakeskin Veil. This card, it determines the outcome of so many games.
It does, but it is so much easier to keep up 1 mana than 2.
Don't care. This card is going to wreck people.
And this is our first reference and citing of Tom Bombadil, a favorite character of the book readers, because he did not appear in the movies, which is kind of controversial. A lot of people were not happy about that.
Yeah. I know the name, and I didn't read the books, so it's a pretty popular character.
Yeah, he doesn't play a huge role in the story, and he's kind of a weird character, so I understand why he's not in the movie. He just is kind of there and is like potentially the oldest being in the world, in Cosmos, from potentially even before the Valar, who are the gods. So
wow,
it's a tough character to do anything with. So I get why they didn't do it.
Yeah. Brandywine Farmer, 3 mana for a 1/1 halfling peasant. When it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, create a food token. So this is going to be the food token matters, and a 1/1 is fine, but you have to have some really hefty, huge payoffs for food to want this card. This kind of reminds me of like the giant thing. You make 3 food tokens. If you can sack 7, make a 7/7 kind of deal. Where it was like, you don't really want to play this card in most decks, but some decks you're very happy to do so. I think that's what this is.
Yeah, I agree with that. To me, it's definitely a split card, because in your average deck that doesn't care, it's a 1.
Exactly.
But yeah, in the green-white deck, which is food matters, or heck, I might just play this if I'm in black-green and have 2 bats. I think this card's probably like a 3 in those decks as an enabler.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's going to be other food payoffs as well, so I think we'll see a lot of those in multicolor. And this is a lot of what green wants to be doing. So I agree. 1/3 split rating. Celeborn the Wise, 4 mana for a 3/3 elf noble. Whenever you attack with one or more elves, scry 1. Whenever you scry, Celeborn gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. So it says whenever you attack with one or more elves, so you can't like really pump it extra, but he's guaranteed to attack as a 4/4 for 4. But if you can scry at instant speed, there's a lot of scry matters in this format, so you can like scry a bunch beforehand and then attack more. So I think that this is a huge payoff for that deck, and in the average deck, it's just fine because it attacks for a 4/4.
Yeah, it attacks for 4/4 and you get
scry.
to scry.
Yeah. So I think for that reason, I like it at like a 3, regardless, without the added bonuses of the scries. But in the deck, this is one of your major payoffs.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I like it as a 3. I do have to, for the first time, at least in this video, show how nerdy I am and say that it's Celeborn, not Celeborn. Because in Quenya, names that begin with C sound like K.
Is that a line of text in the book?
No, that's just the Elvish language is Quenya.
Oh, you're like... You're elf languaging me?
Yes.
God, you're such a dweeb. Do you know like Klingon too? Like, are you?
No.
Okay, well at least the elf's cool. I don't have to. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say it's a 3. It's a 3/5 in the scry deck. Chance Met Elves. 3 mana for a 3/2 elf warrior. Whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on this. This ability triggers only once each turn. This seems great.
Yeah, we thought the last one was a payoff. I really like this card.
Hell yeah. Especially because they trigger each other, right? Like you can attack and like scry 1, put a +1/+1 counter, and like their life just gets harder and harder. This is great. And this one's only at common. So in the average deck, you're going to get like, let's say 1 scry on this for like any other color pairing that's not like Simic. And you're just like, oh, this is fine. It's like a curve filler that becomes a 3 mana 4/3, still playable. But in the deck, oh, yes, please. I think this is like a 2/5 / a like 3/5 in that deck. This is pretty split rating to me.
Yeah, I might only be a 2 in the regular deck. But I like the 3/5 in the scry deck.
Yeah, I gave it just a little bit of a bump because it does feel like there's enough scry on random shit that like you're just okay with it. So I think you're gonna be able to hit a 1-off scry in any color combination.
Sure.
Delighted Halfling, 1 mana for a 1/2. Taps add a colorless. You can tap to add 1 mana of any color. Spend this only to cast legendary spells, and that spell can't be countered. Ooh, that's interesting text. I love the colors. It's really pretty. I think 1 mana elf dork that can block a little bit better with soldier tokens is fantastic. I'm never cutting this card.
Yeah, card's very good. The restriction isn't that bad in this set because there's a lot of legendary spells.
Yeah,
even a lot of the artifacts are legendary.
Oftentimes it just makes a green anyway, so like sometimes it doesn't help you cast the other half of your deck anyway. If you had a green to pay for this, it's not really a drawback at that point unless you're casting a lot of like double greens.
Yep.
So rating wise, I think this is great. It's a 3 for me.
Yeah, I think it's a 3. It can't really be higher than that because it's just a 1/2, but it's goes in every green deck, and it enables your deck.
Dundane Rangers. I'm sure I butchered it. I'm sorry. 4 mana for a 4/4 human ranger. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you don't control a ring bearer, he tempts you. Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in this. So it's a recurring tempt that you can sort of control. Your deck has now 6 more tempts in it. You know what I mean? So like it ensures that even though you've dedicated a bunch of time and cards to tempting the ring, that you don't just get hosed the second they remove those creatures, because your lands now can re-equip. And I'm super for it. I think that's great.
Yeah, later in the game, the only times you're super concerned about being able to tempt or have the ring tempt you is when you don't have a ring bearer.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you might want to move it, but generally, if you've got it equipped to something, you're in good shape. So,
And you want your top deck lands to make sure you can continue to gain value using that ring. So I think this is a 3/5 for me. It's everything I want to be doing in green.
Yep. Agreed with that. 4 mana, 4/4 on its own. Just solid card.
Elven Chorus, 4 mana. This 4 mana slot is chunky, this set, let me tell you. Be careful. 4 mana for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Creatures you control have tap, add mana. Oh, this seems very good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, you obviously want a 14, 15, 16 creature deck here, but if you're in green, you tend to want to do that anyway.
Absolutely. And you really only need to get 1 creature off the top of your deck before it's kind of paid for itself, in addition to like the mana ramp that all, it comes down and your creatures are automatically, mana dorks. So you get a nice little bonus there, even if it takes a turn or two for you to start hitting. But, it basically says like, draw cards off the top of your deck. And that's always very good. This is sweet. Rating wise, it's a little slow, so I'm not going to bump it too high, but I do think that this can win games if left to do its thing, if like the game is long and stally. So it's like a 3/5 or a 4 in a heavy creature deck.
Yeah, I think I've got it as a 4. I really like this card.
Yeah.
And this is where I was practicing my Elvish for.
Okay, the back one? Okay, go.
So the flavor text here is part of a song. I had to look up the rest of the lyrics. It's short, but it's...
Are you going to sing the whole song?
It's not real, but it's not really singing. It's like toned. It's only 7 lines. It's Aelbreth Gilthoniel, Silivren Penamiriel, Omenel Aglar Elanath, Nahaired Palandiriel, Ogaladremin Enorath, Fanuilos Lelinathon, Nevayar si Nevayaron.
Aw, you make Tolkien proud. Wonderful. And these are in the book.
Yeah, this one I don't believe was in anywhere in the Lord of the Rings, but it was in like the Silmarillion or some of the older books, some of the other mythology books.
Well done. Bravo. Thank you for singing us a song, Yanks. You're a dweeb. I'm just gonna keep calling you that. Elven Farsight, 1 mana for a sorcery, scry 3. When you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, draw a card. Scry matters decks, yes. Other decks, no. So kind of split rating here.
It might still be a split, but I think I might be playing this in most green decks. I mean, it's cycle for a creature, basically. You're very rarely not going to hit.
And you get to scry some lands to the bottom. I agree. I think it's playable in just about any deck, but I'm not actively seeking it in any other deck.
No, I agree with that.
The thing is like 3 years ago, this would have been playable in every green deck because there's a fair amount of chaff. But there isn't chaff anymore. So I end up with a situation where it's like, I have, 32 playables or whatever. I need 8 cuts. Like, that is not an abnormal place I find myself in. And these always tend to bite the dust.
I agree. And it's also probably at its worst in a set like this where the power level seems relatively flat.
Yeah.
If you're digging for one of your
bombs.
2 or 3 bombs, then this card gets better. But when you've got a much more even power level, it's not as good.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Okay. So I'm going to say it's like, a 23rd playable card, 1.5. And then in the scry deck, I'm just going to say it's like a 2/5. You're pretty happy to run multiples of these in that case, especially when all your creatures are getting +1/+1, counters and stuff on them. That's insane.
Agreed.
All right, next we have an enraged Huron? Horn, sure. It's a tree folk with trample. It's a 5 mana 4/5. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Okay. I kind of like the one that makes counters better or makes mass orcs better, but this is okay. It's like a 2/5.
Yeah, it's... I think it's a 2/5. It might only be a 2 in just because green does seem to have already some better options in terms of size, but yeah, it's a fine card.
All right. Ent's Fury, 2 mana for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. If its power is 4 or greater, then that creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn and fights a creature you don't control. Okay, you put a +1/+1 counter if its power is greater than 4. Then that creature gets an additional +1/+1 till end of turn and fights. So it automatically gets +1/+1 and fights. And then if its power is greater than 4 when it starts, it gets an additional counter. Great. At sorcery speed, we've seen some stuff at instant lately, but this is like stronger with the counters. So this is Green's premium removal. I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, and you used to only be able to leave a counter behind on these fight spells. You'd have to pay like 3 or 4 mana, like a Hunt a week.
Yeah. It's been long since days of those, though.
Yeah, but we haven't seen a ton that leave counters. We see a lot of bites and instant speed ones, but so
we also don't see a lot that can give +2/+2 and fight at only 2 mana. Like, that's a lot of value.
Yeah, you see +1/+2 a couple times, like Epic Confrontation, but not 2/2.
Pretty happy. This card seems pretty good. Entish Restoration, 3 mana for an instant. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put that onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, instead search your library for up to 3 basic lands. Put them onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Great for fixing, great for massive ramp. But ramp can only take you so far in these decks, but I still think if you have fixing and stuff, you're going to be very happy to play this. It's probably like a 3. It's doing a lot for 3 mana.
Yeah, I think I'm a little... Well, it's instant speed, so yeah, I'm okay with it being a 3. To say, you don't tend to need a lot of ramp when you've already got something with power 4 or greater on the battlefield. But it is nice for splashing.
It is very nice for splashing. And even if I'm just paying 3 mana at instant speed to get 2, to ramp 1, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Fall of Gil-galad. 2 mana, first chapter, scry 2. Second chapter, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Chapter 3, until end of turn, target creature you control gains when this creature dies, draw 2 cards. Then that creature fights up to 1 other target creature. So you can kind of force it to trade for 1/1. You draw 2 cards. That seems okay.
Yeah, and you get that till end of turn, so you can fight something, and then if it survives, attack with a decent sized thing that already has some damage on it because you don't mind trading down.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Cards. So yeah, you have your 4/4 or whatever. You fight their 3/3 and attack them for 4/4, and it's still in their best interest to trade their like 1/1 for it.
Yep.
Otherwise, it just goes back to being a 4/4 next turn, which they don't necessarily want. But then you draw 2 cards. Yeah, I like that. This card seems very good for only 2 mana as well. It's going to help really smooth out your draw. You can't really cast it on 2 though, unless you had a 1-drop. Because you need to make sure you have a creature on the battlefield for chapter 2.
Yes.
So it's a little tricky, not quite a tempo-y 2. It's more like a 3 or 4 drop. Turn 3 or 4 is what you're looking to do. But I think that's totally fine. And also, removal, that's not when you want it, when you can control it. Like, you might play this wanting to, get the 2 counters, get the scry going, and they just okay, I'll just not play a creature for 2 turns and see what happens. So, little tricky, but I still like it.
Yeah, it's a lot of value.
It is.
For only 2 mana.
Yeah. Rating-wise, what do you think of it?
I think I like this at like a 3/5. It's just so cheap and a lot of value.
It is, yeah. This can steamroll and win games too. Like, you could just high roll on having the creature, fighting, getting all the value, getting essentially if you're fighting the creature that you didn't put counters on and you're trading 1/1, drawing 2, that's just such a high roll.
True. Yeah.
The ceiling on this is very, very high. So
agreed.
What is the floor? You put 2 counters on a thing, you fight it, and then they remove it in response, and then you get 2 for 1?
Well, the floor is they kill your creature in response to the counters.
Well, then next turn you can still fight a different creature, hypothetically.
Yeah.
I would rather let the counters go onto it and then fight it in response to the.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking the actual absolute floor is you only have 1 creature.
Yes.
and they kill it. But yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, it's probably like averaging a 3. If you're high rolling on this card, it's playing like a 4. If you're low rolling, it's playing like a 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm down to give it like a 3, 3, 5. I think that's fine. Fangorn Tree Shepherd. We have a 7 mana, 4/10 Tree Folk. Whew, that's a big booty. Tree Folk you control have Vigilance. Whenever one or more Tree Folk you control attack, add twice that much forests. You don't lose unspent mana at the end steps and phases. That's cool, but I feel like if I'm playing this for 7 mana, I don't care about mana very much. But like, Tree Folks have Vigilance, pretty dope.
And it's just a 4/10. Like, what's getting through this thing?
A flyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing's pretty big. We'll see how slow the format is. We'll see how much ramp we have, how often I'm actually willing to play a 7-drop, but I feel like it'll be most decks, and I'd be okay with that. So, sure, it's probably like a 3 in the average deck that just doesn't have a lot of Tree Folk.
Yeah, I think so. We've only seen one other one so far, although I'm sure we'll see some more.
Oh, yeah, certainly. All right. Galadrim's Bow? Jiminy Christmas, these are hard.
Galadrim.
Galadrim's Bow. 3 mana for an equipment with flash. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Untap that creature. Dope. The creature gets +1/+2 and has reach. So, yeah, this is a combat trick all nicely wrapped into a bunch of stuff.
Now this is sneaky reach.
Yeah, that's some sneaky reach. I love it. I can picture like someone chucking the bow to somebody and then like, you know, like Legolas grabbing it and like doing the thing. Cool. Into it. That's super sneaky reach. And then it leaves like a lasting stat on the board. So I'm going to play this card. I think this is like a 2/5.
I think this card is very good. Like
3 mana.
It's 3 mana, but you're almost certainly going to get something with this. Whether it just be power and toughness wise or reach with being able to untap something.
But if this wasn't an equipment, if this was a combat trick at 3 mana that did the exact same thing, usually it gives +2/+0 untap and reach. And you're usually less high on that.
But it's sticking around and getting to keep giving things reach in green, which usually has trouble with flyers, is a big deal.
I think that it doesn't continue to give reach. It's just the turn it comes into play.
No, it's just equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has reach.
Oh, I didn't see the reach at the end. I thought that was I thought that was attached to the untap and gains reach until end of turn. Oh, I didn't see the reach at the end. Okay, so that is a bit better than I thought. I thought it was like one of those ones where it's like gets indestructible until end of turn and you get this lingering thing. Okay, yeah. And it makes sense that it would continue to have reach because it is a bow.
A bow, yeah.
That's not really the formatting we've seen lately. So yeah, I'll bump it to a 3. I think that's very good.
I've got it as a 3.
Galadrim's Guide. 4 mana for a 3/4 elf scout. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Yeah, lots of things want you to be scrying, so this card is fine. I think it's a 2/5.
Yep. Simple. You want it more Simic than anywhere else.
I will let you take the next 2. I think my voice is dying.
Generous Ent. This is our green in the land cycling cycle. 5 and a green for a 5/7 Tree Folk with reach. When Generous Ent enters the battlefield, create a food token. So big body, far cycling, food. You know, there's nothing really to dislike about this card.
He's feeding the squirrels because he's generous. Oh, I love it. It's so cute. He's giving them little berries. I love it. This is adorable. Rating wise, I think it's like a 3. I love cycling, so yeah.
And the higher mana cost is less of an issue in green than in the other colors.
Certainly. Although I'm not seeing a lot of mana dorks, so maybe it won't be as good, but still fine. Gift of Strands, 4 mana for an aura with flash. When Gift of Strands enters the battlefield, scry 2. Enchant creature gets +3/+3. That's a lot of stats. You're getting to try Strigger. You're getting to try your Strigger triggers. My brain is smushed. We are done. You get to scry and trigger your scry triggers and get a lot of stats. And it's a good combat trick. It's going to eat a lot of things here, either on the attacks or on the blocks. So I think this card's fine. It's like 4 mana for an aura always makes me nervous. You got to be real careful when you play them. But I still think there's a lot of value here.
Yeah, I'm just always so nervous about auras, even flash auras. Like,
I will play expensive flash auras because I feel like I'm reserved enough to play it when it's good. And like, I feel like sometimes you can't, it's not good, but like, I feel like I get my value, sort of like flush draws, right? Like I'm hitting 1 out of 3.5. I'm making sure my equity's in the pot and we're good. I win enough games to make up for the times that I get got for this.
That's fair. I've got it as like a 2.
I also put it like at a 2. It's like a very cuttable card, but like this will make the cut in some decks, I think.
It's a cool story moment when they're leaving the forest and Galadriel is offering everyone a gift, and she doesn't know what to give Gimli as a dwarf, and his only request is a strand of her hair. And that's what at the bottom, none have ever made to me a request so bold and yet so courteous.
And what does he do with it?
I don't actually remember. I don't think a whole lot. But just kind of a cool scene.
Oh, someone says that she gives 3 strands.
Three strands, yes.
And that's why it's +3/+3. Wow, we got another dweeb in the audience. Hello. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Glorfindel's Dauntless Rescuer. 3 mana for a 3/2 elf noble. When you scry, choose 1, and it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. It must be blocked this turn if able, or can't be blocked by more than 1 creature this turn. This is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's tailor-made for that blue-green deck.
And then just like playable as is. So I think this is probably averaging like a 2/5. It's probably realistically a 2 and realistically a 3 in any deck.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
The average deck, it'll just play like a 2/5.
I also think this is just really cool art too. It's like very realistic.
See, I don't like that about it.
I think it's just because it seems very different than some of the other art. It just really stands out. Partly the gold, I think, also makes it stand out.
It creeps me out. Like the 3D features of the face.
Yeah.
Like it looks a little creepy to me.
That's fair. I guess it's more noteworthy than necessarily, great.
Yeah. I like the more whimsical arts. I like things less when they become more realistic and very, very detailed. So
that's fair.
Like I like this art. Like it's not a thing, but like I love the style. The Last March of the Ents, where it's more like shadowy and striking and bold, less about like gritty real features. 6 mana for a sorcery. This spell can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. So you play the other treant.
So you're drawing 10.
And then you draw 10. We can live the dream.
It's the curve, 7 into 8.
Love it.
And even if you don't get your 8th land, the 7-drop attacks and you add 2 green.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm running this card, but I think that's okay. It's just a mythic.
Yeah. If you cast this, you're probably going to win the game.
I will say there's probably like some sort of like 18 creature deck where I'm just like, maybe this looks good. Because if you draw 4 cards and you hit 2 things on average, like, okay. And you also drew 2 cards in addition to that. And it's okay if you're realistically thinking about playing Treant. And I'm not saying that you're going to play both of those in the same game, but if your deck can handle the Treant, then your deck can maybe also handle this, and you expect to hit it with a 4/4 and just be kind of happy about it. So
even the Forest Cycler is a 5/7.
Yeah,
that's common.
I'm not going to say that this is unplayable, but I'm saying it will.
Yeah.
It will get cut most of the times. There will certainly be some decks where I'm like, you know what, let's do it. So I'm gonna say it's like a 1/5.
This is I think I've probably got it the same. It's another cool spot, right? With the story part where the Ents, the tree folk, are going after Isengard
Yeah.
when they discover the forest has been burned down. You just kind of picture the flavor text or them saying to Isengard, with doom we come. Just slowly marching on the tower.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
Legolas Master Archer, 3 mana for a 1/4 with reach. When you cast a spell that targets Legolas, put a +1/+1 counter on him. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you don't control, Legolas deals damage equal to its power up to 1 creature. Huh. So if you... It doesn't say only a creature you don't control, so a fight spell would also let him poke. So your 4/4 fights there, 3/3, and then this guy, Legolas, just boops their X1. I'm into that.
Yep.
I'm into that. Or, you fight upwards or whatever. Yeah, this is pretty neat. And he gets bigger whenever you cast a spell that targets Legolas. So your counter or your combat tricks and stuff makes him bigger and makes this do more. I'm here for this. And go ahead.
I say this is the kind of card you want to play with that flash aura with.
It's actually kind of dope too. Like after this has been on the battlefield for a little while, it turns your like giant gross into fucking like lightning bolts, right?
Yes.
Because you just you can giant growth their thing and then hit their other thing. Obviously, those two things don't work together. Oh, I guess it does because it's on the stack.
They do. Yep, this goes off first.
Yes, so that's fine. So if that's the only thing they have, you can even just lightning bolt their shit. That's pretty cool. Rating wise, I think this card is very good for 3 mana. I'm here for it. This is like a 3/5.
Yeah, I think it's a 3/5, and if you get it early enough and can prioritize fight spells, combat tricks, stuff like that, this will play even better. This can just win the game for you.
Absolutely. If you've got the deck built around this, it's going to be fantastic. All right, a long list of the Ents.
I love this card.
Oh my god, of course you do. It looks like dweeby heaven. I don't even know what it does. All right, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Note a creature type that hasn't been noted for list of the Ents. When you cast your next creature spell of this type this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So you can just curve out and cast elf, human, scout, warrior, whatever. You got to map it out a little bit, but that's probably fine.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. Can you imagine being like, it's a 1-drop. So if you hit this on 1 and you curve out in Gruul, that's a beating.
Yeah, or just like 2-drop scout, 3-drop elf, 4-drop tree folk. Like the fact that almost so many things have 2 creature types makes it easier to not be doubling up.
Absolutely. I think like once you hit elf and scout, you're a little stuck, so you just got to be a little careful. But like, yeah, this is probably going to be very nice. It's a dead draw late in the game, but aggro creature decks, 16 creature decks, those exist. I'm running this for sure. Rating wise, what do you think?
I think I've got it as a 3. It's just cheap. You're not going to want to play this late. That's fine, but that's true with every 1 mana spell pretty much.
I think you're a little higher on it than me, just because I feel like it's only you're going to run out of creatures. I don't know. I'm going to give it a 2/5.
That's fair. I might just be high enough because I just love the concept of the card. Like the Ents, everything is slow, so it's 6 chapters to finish telling the story.
Yeah.
A long list of the Ents was the list of living creatures that Treebeard and you assume other Ents learn when they're young, and he's very confused when he meets Merry and Pippin because hobbits aren't in there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's like the elves, the dwarfs, the Ents, the men, then a whole bunch of animals, but hobbits aren't anywhere on there. And then after the destruction of Isengard, Treebeard says he has added lines to the long list to include hungry as hunters, the hobbit children, the laughing folk, the little people.
That's a good line. I like that. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Lothlorien Lookout. 2 mana, 1/3. Whenever it attacks, you scry one. Ooh. You're probably not getting in with this, but you're just getting like free bouncy scries earlier, which is triggering all your other shit. You play the 3/2 on 3 that like gets a counter when you scry, and then you get in with this, bounce off their 2/2. That feels great.
Yeah, this is a 2/4 after Long List of the Ents comes down on 1, so.
Oh my god. And then you can draw 4 cards and put creatures onto the battlefield. All right, rating wise, I think it's a solid 2-drop. I'm going to give it a 2/5.
Yeah, it's a 2/5. Obviously less likely to want it outside of blue-green, but you can play it anywhere.
All right, Many Partings, 1 mana for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card. Reveal it, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle, create a food.
Put it into your hand, not battlefield.
Oh, correct. That's worse, but fine.
Yes. But what you expect for 1 mana.
Yeah, if your deck wants food or if your deck wants to fix, this is a fine option. I kind of want both of those things to be true for me to be considering this. It's too low impact for just one or the other.
Agreed. I think I'm more likely to be willing to play this just for the fixing than the food. Because I'm assuming if I'm fixing it, if I need the fixing, it's for something very powerful.
I agree with that. I don't know if there's anything that powerful in the set so far that I want, but we'll see about what the multicolors look like.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm not thrilled, and I'm happy to cut this card.
All right. Someone said it thins the deck too. I don't know if that's relevant enough to run this as a dead card, though. I'd rather just take one of the scry idiots. Like, I think that's okay.
Yeah. So it's like a 1/5.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with the 1/5. There's a deck that absolutely is gonna, you want these 100%. So I will let you take this one.
Meriadoc Brandybuck, 1 and a green for a 2/2 legendary halfling citizen. Whenever one or more halflings you control attack a player, create a food token.
That's a great enabler. It's a 2 mana 2/2, and it enables everything else that your Selesnya deck wants to be doing. So on average, this is probably at least a 2/5. It's probably closer to, it's probably just a 3, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a 3 and maybe
Most
a little
things.
bit better in green-white. I think it's probably a 2/5 everywhere else.
Yeah, I figure green is always going to want some amount of food tokens.
Yeah.
Like there's synergy everywhere, right? Like even if you're green-black, like you got the stupid bat, great.
Yeah,
Selesnya.
the only reason I'm thinking that is like we've gotten to M in green and we haven't seen a single food payoff yet.
That's true. It might just be the uncommons, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, it might be in the gold cards as well. So
Merc, and if it is in the gold cards, then it's going to be in green-white. So
yes, yeah.
So Mirkwood Spider, 1 mana for a 1/1 Death Touch. When it attacks, target legendary creature you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. That's cool, but why doesn't the spider have reach?
Yeah, it's a good question.
A 1/1 Death Touch for 1 is normal, but usually it's like a snake or something. This is a spider because there's spider in Lord of the Rings. I get it, but I don't like spiders not having reach.
Yeah, I mean they're poisonous. Thematically it makes sense, but yeah, like you can't put a 1/1 Death Touch reach for 1 is really strong.
I agree, but it's a spider.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen spiders that have their butts where their faces are supposed to be.
But they still have reach.
This time they're just grounded.
Now this one has its poison where its webs are.
Even though it's climbing on a web in midair.
All right, Mtgnerdgirl Guardian, sure. 3 mana for a 4/2. When it dies, the ring tempts you. Okay, it's a fine filler card. This is like a 2 for me.
Yeah, not too much to say. The 2 toughness stinks. So yeah, it's just a 2.
Mushroom Watchdogs, 2 mana 2/2. Sacrifice a food, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It gains vigilance until end of turn, activate as a sorcery. I think that's a payoff for that 2/2 that we just saw, right? Like these are the kinds of things I want to see in that deck.
Agreed.
And also I love the art. Like how you see how it's more like watercolor abstracty kind of. Less this is really cool. I like these. I like the trees in the background. It's really pretty. Rating wise, I think this card is actually very good. I think this is a 3.
I think I've got it as a 2/5, but it's good.
Peregrine Took, 3 mana for a 2/3 citizen halfling. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, put those tokens plus an additional food token instead. That's great.
Yep.
This is, and you just get free foods. You have to have a reason to have the foods, like the dog or something, or some sort of payoff. And some decks just might have no use for food, but it is just free life gain.
Or just the last part of this card.
Sacrifice 3 foods, draw a card. I stopped reading. I didn't know that there was the last part of this card. Never mind. This is a 3/5. This is very good. You got to make some tokens, but 3/5?
Yep, 3/5.
Pippin's Bravery. Full of a took. You want to read the thing?
Pippin's Bravery. Green instant. You may sacrifice a food. If you do, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Otherwise, that creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's like just a bit more of a random giant growth, right? It can be slightly better, it can be slightly worse.
Yeah.
It's like a 2.
Feels like most of the combat tricks we've seen have been better than this.
Yeah, I agree. If you have a lot of food, these things can be a game ending, right? If you're just like generating a ton of food and you just have a bunch of like 1 mana +4s, your opponents will like never play around them.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's just a 2, but I think there's some decks who will want these actively, and then the rest is just like, I'm short on playables, why not? Quick Beam Upstart Ent, 6 mana for a 5/6. Whenever it or another tree folk enters the battlefield under your control, put up to 2 target creatures get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. It's like a mini overrun when this comes into play. That's pretty good. And then they just keep stacking. You get to trigger multiple overruns. That's cool.
Yeah, this card seems very strong.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of tree folk. And they're expensive, so you're probably not ever triggering this more than once a turn, but that's fine.
No, certainly not more than once a turn. I'm happy if I trigger it twice in a game, including its ETB.
Yeah, there are 3, 4 tree folk, at least just in green. And one of them's at rare. So, but still, I mean, there's a couple at common. This card's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Rating wise, what are you thinking?
It's like a 3/5.
Okay, I'm down for that. It's going to be a 3/5, and then sometimes it's just going to kill your opponents randomly. The average deck, it's probably not going to do a ton, but it's so hard to say because the ceiling on just the ETB could just kill someone. It is very good. So, it's going to ETB and do nothing, and it's going to feel meh, and it's going to ETB and kill your opponent and feel like $1 million. There's not a lot of middle ground there. So
it's very wide range here.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm going to say it's probably averaging a 3, but expect your ETBs to be you win the game or you just got an idiot.
Yes.
Okay. It's a lot of text. I'm going to let you take this one.
Radagast the Brown. 2 green for a 2/5 legendary avatar wizard. Whenever Radagast the Brown or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top X cards of your library where X is that creature's mana value. You may reveal a creature card that doesn't share a creature type with the creature you control from among those cards and put it into your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. So this or something else, non-token, ETBs, look at, in this case, top 4 cards for mana value, and you get a creature that doesn't match one of the creature types you have on the battlefield already.
So that's not going to happen often. Yeah, this seems like an absolute build-around, not a terrible thing.
No, I mean, if you hit this once, you've got pretty good value.
Because it happens when he comes into play.
Yeah. And if you don't have a lot of creatures, it's, Avatar Wizard is not going to be that common.
Yeah.
So pretty decent green, pretty decent chance you'll hit an elf or a halfling or a tree folk.
that
So,
doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control from among them. So you're not trying to hit an Avatar Wizard. You're trying to hit not an Avatar Wizard.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and I don't think that's terrible hard with like all of the different, elf wizard, elf scout, elf whatever. Like it's probably not that hard.
Yeah. Now the double kind of hurts it there, right? Because you can't hit any wizards.
That's true.
But there's still enough that, I think that there's enough tree folk and dwarves if you're in red green, or humans in green white, or halflings, that I think you'll be able to hit, at least once off of this.
Yeah, and you can dig pretty deep. It's mana value, so that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like this card. I think it's probably a 3/5.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. It's got a lot of potential value, but it could also just be a 4 mana 2/5. So it's got a very wide range.
Revive the Shrine. 2 mana. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Create a food token. I'm not usually into these 1-for-1s unless you have some big bombs in your deck. So I'm going to say this is a 1.5.
Agreed. Either big bombs or heavy green-white food.
Yeah, if you want a lot of foods and you're just like, I want things that trigger food and do other things as well, great. The Ring Goes South. 4 mana for The Ring Tempts You. Then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X land cards, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Put those lands onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom in a of your library in a random order. So 4 mana, The Ring Tempts You, ramp. You can't miss. I don't hate that on its own. You're not likely to have multiple, like when you want to be doing this, you don't have a ton of creatures out because it's pretty early, right? You want to do this on 4.
Yeah.
But I think that the rate on it's fine. And if you just happen to have like a 2 or 3 drop that's also a legendary creature, then great. Chances are that's going to be your ring bearer, so it's not going to double dip, but it could.
I mean, 4 mana to tempt you and ramp 1 sounds pretty awful.
I don't think it's awful. I think it sounds fine.
It doesn't even guarantee that you're going to get the color you want, which doesn't help. Yeah, I really don't like this card.
I'm not high on it, but I think it's going to see some play. I would say this is probably a 2.
Yeah, I can go along with that.
Yeah, I'm not like woo, but also like, if I'm running a billion 6 and 7 drops, which there have been a lot in green, like I think I just want to be tempted and ramp. Like that's okay to me. Yeah. Shortcut to Mushrooms. 2 mana for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That triggers on food tokens, baby. You got no other synergies. You just crack a food token every turn. Gain 3 life, put a +1/+1 counter all day.
Yep, treasure tokens as well.
That seems great. Yeah, this is fine. And the ring tempts you for just the 2, so you're getting legendary creatures, which is, synergy for other stuff. I think this card is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's like a 3.
In some decks, it'll certainly be a 3. There will be lots of decks where it plays like a 1. So
sure, yeah,
you'll know when you want this card. It's a split card, but I feel like you're not looking at this card unless you're in the business. So then it's fine.
Agreed.
Shower of Arrows. 3 mana. Destroy target artifact, equipment, or creature with enchantment or creature with flying. Scry 2 or Scry 1. God, it's getting late. I'm getting tired. These are okay. Enchantment. There's a lot of sagas. Artifacts and creatures with flying. I feel like you're guaranteed to kind of hit something here. So when it gets to artifact, enchantment, and flying, it's to the point where I'm like, I'm okay with this as a 23rd playable card. I definitely want them for my sideboard. But this is Lord of the Rings. There's dragons here. So I think this is a 2, even in best of 1.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 as well. And Scry is a nice bonus for blue-green.
Absolutely. All right. Stew the Conies? Conies. Stew the Conies. 3 mana for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to a creature you don't control. Create a food. Great. 3. It's instant speed punch spell that also makes food and makes you cook potatoes.
Potatoes. This is just a great scene where Sam wants to cook the rabbits that he killed, and he just wants to eat them raw.
It was so gross.
Stew the rabbitses. Card itself,
Boil 'em.
though.
Yeah, doesn't he say boil them, cook them in a stew? He's like, what do you do with them or whatever? The potatoes?
Yeah.
He says, boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. It's been a while. I think I remember that. All right, rating-wise, this is like green's like good removal. It's instant speed. We're here for it. It's like green's 4, right?
Yeah, and you get a food with it.
Synergizes with what some of the decks want to be doing.
And I mean, you're hitting something with a frying pan. Like, that's just great.
Woe's Pathfinder, 2 mana for a 1/1. You can tap, add a mana of any color. Yes, please. 7 mana. Another target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample till end of turn. Yes, please. This is a great filler.
Yeah, mana dork that
3.
gives you something to do late in the game for menacing. Yeah. 3 for me.
All right, that is the end of green, guys. Yanks, what do you think? For me, after red, this was a nice breath of fresh air. I think red is hands down now the worst color. I enjoyed green.
But green was good. We finally saw some size in the set in the Tree Folk, which we had not seen really at all, other than a handful of rares and mythics.
And it supported its 2 major archetypes, which was the scry and the food, very well.
Yes. I think green is good. I'm still looking at black as the best color. But I think green is good. I think it's pretty blue, white, and green were all pretty good.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Yanks. For those of you guys who are on YouTube, don't forget to check out our other colors, especially the introduction set review where we go over everything you guys need to know about Limited for Tales of Middle-earth. We go over new and returning mechanics, as well as draftable archetypes, and even the signpost uncommons for you guys. So make sure you guys go check that out. For this video, leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think of green, and I hope to see you guys in the next video where we go over colorless and multicolor. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. I'd like to end this video with a special thank you to those of you guys who have signed up for my Patreon. Without my wonderful patrons, none of this content would be possible. If you'd like to support this content and get your name up on the Wall of Fame, you can sign up for our Patreon by using the link down below in the description. Another way you can support the channel is by using code MNG5 with Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find cool stuff in stock. They have everything you need for Magic, board games, and any of your other nerdy hobbies.